Is it racist to say hola amigos?
No.
No? Okay. Hola amigos! Welcome back to Next Level Rides. In today's episode, we're going to be moving the Mazda over so I can dig out the 540. So I've got Flashlight Kid over here that's going to be assisting me and we'll get it moved. So stay tuned. So we're finally digging out the 540, which I stored for the winter in the garage. Apparently it's a bit of a fair weather queen, but here we are. So later on in the video we'll be installing my FTP inlet along with my CTS Charge Pipe. But before we do that, we need to bring the 540 out of hibernation in storage. So you gotta make do with the space that you have. So as you can see, I made it super close to the wall. Fender to wall, mirror. Don't worry, I made sure I folded those mirrors in first. Man, I forgot how cool this looked. What I normally do when I've had a car sit for a while, whether it's a few months or however, what I like to do is crank the engine with the fuel injectors disconnected so that it builds oil pressure, and when it builds oil pressure, it'll get oil to the top of the cylinder head. The reason I don't like to just start it after 6 months, 8 months, a year or so is because all that oil film is likely gone. So for the first split second or a second, it'll start dry. Let's see. Doesn't look so bad. I say it doesn't look so bad and I probably just jinxed myself. So when people disconnect their fuel pump fuse, it's usually for the high pressure, so it doesn't end up working, but it will still fire and everything off the low pressure. And vice versa, if you disconnect or you pull the fuse for the low pressure, the high pressure will siphon enough out of the fuel tank to fire. So, yeah, but these connectors are
super easy.
Yeah, you say that. Apparently these are really, really shitty ones to get to. So first I'm going to start by disconnecting the clips that go to the injectors. Now, these are pretty crappy brittle clips, so I can't say that I'm going to do this a second time. So yeah, this will be a testament to my OCD because I tend to overthink everything. And my head won't shut up that, oh hey, your injector connectors, they could be sending a signal and it could arc on something and then it could short something out and then it could have a bigger problem and then you're not going to be able to drive your vehicle plus. So to have my brain shut up just a little bit, I do this. Similar to the N54 or N55, you just crank it 3 times, 10 seconds each, and then reconnect the connectors. So nothing super crazy. All right, let's see how much aggression it's gonna give me. You parked me for 6 months and you wanna try this?
No.
All right.
Man, she spins quick.
Yeah, there's probably like a little bit of residual fuel. That's why I tried to start like that little instance. So that was one revolution of starting. So again, like with the N54s, whenever I change an oil filter housing gasket, I'll let it crank for 10 seconds each time, give it a break in between for 3 times. And then you can confirm the oil pressure will be top of the head. I'm just gonna do one more. Just gonna let the starter cool down a little bit. And then it's just a matter of tossing the plugs in. So force a habit from my RX-7 days, I end up cranking the vehicle 3 times for 10 seconds each time for it to build oil pressure. Now after a few seconds it'll build a little bit of a film to get up and on the camshafts, but force a habit I guess. Afterwards, I put the connectors back onto the injectors and use a little bit of dielectric grease. Moment of truth, gotta get the key. It's gonna be loud. Like any other day. Now I need to pull it out.
Yeah, you're good.
So in Europe, they have the 1 series, which is, I think, just a hatchback 2 series. And of course, there's the 3, the 4, and so forth. For some reason, the 3 and the 4 are selling for more than the 5 series, which is strange. But it's a nice little quirk or detail when you have a 5 series. Soft touch close. Fancy. Now that the car is awake and out of hibernation, we can start by installing the FTP inlet along with the CTS Charge Pipe to get rid of all the plastic. Okay, first up is the FTP inlet. So first thing I like to do is I always look in here to see if there's any dust or burrs I need to clean off, and there doesn't appear to be any. Yeah, it looks good. So I'm pretty sure this is for the F chassis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one off here. It's just a flathead. I think they extend it for a certain series, but not for this one. So there we go. Yeah, so the reason you take that one off is you don't really need it on the G series. Now the 5.4, oh yeah, see I found a burr right there. That burr would piss the turbo off right there. That one we could just scrape away. Good. Yeah, I'll run a rag through here and it should be okay. So, I mean, it's a black pipe, so I think it'll be okay. And looks like a coupler here and a coupler here. I think one of them's for the charge pipe. Charge pipe. That one's for the charge pipe. And this one is going to mount up here to my BMS filter. So chuck this aside, don't need that. I do like CTS stuff. So from CTS, we have their charge pipe. Now the charge pipe isn't mandatory on a B58 until you're upwards of 20, 22 PSI or you have an upgraded turbo. The factory one, it does not break like the N54 and the 55s, so no real reason to upgrade. Now always check these because they're always loose. I don't know how many times I've seen somebody have a boost leak and they didn't actually Teflon tape this and then snug it down. And bottom, good. Welds are good, rolled edge. Comes with a new seal or new O-ring. Yep, looks good. All right, time to take it apart. The first thing we start to remove is the BMS air filter, the engine cover, and then the lower portion of the factory air box just on the left side there. Next is the 2 bars that go from the strut towers to the front of the vehicle. And afterwards, there's a bunch of sand and grit around the front. So I just wanted to clean it up before it fell into the open inlet to get into the turbo or anything else. After removing the lower portion of the air box, we start by removing the upper part of the factory inlet, which is rubber. And then afterwards, you need to be very careful in removing the PCV hose that connects to the valve cover right up top. This thing's very brittle and it'll break very easily. The last thing you want is a vacuum leak that's going to be very hard to diagnose. You'll remove the connector going to the electric wastegate, the heat shield wrap around it that looks like a bit of a blanket, and on the right side of it, the connection that goes to the lower portion of the inlet, that's for the evap. Now, I fought with it for a little bit because there was so much grit and gunk trying to remove the lower portion of the PCV valve very carefully, but eventually I decided just to remove it with the lower inlet itself. So when you do remove the PCV line, be very careful removing it, and it's much easier to do on the bench and to put it back into the new FTP inlet. So it's a good force of habit to cover the inlet of the turbo with a little bit of painter's tape, just so no garbage falls into the inlet itself or into the front of the turbo. Now, afterwards, we're going to remove the plastic clip that's on the charge pipe that's holding the spring in place. All right, next up, we've got a plastic connector. They always break. You have to pick it out. Then you can just pick it off with your hand like that. See? So it has 2 clips right here that might have broke off, but you're never going to be reusing this anyway. So let's just file it under G. So the bolts are off. This is off. This is not off. All right, so 2 connectors here. Man, I really hate these clips. So try and be very gentle when you pick at them. And then all you do is when the tab is up here, you push it down and just equal amount of pressure to pull it off. Okay, so now because both connectors are the same, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little red dot on both. Okay, we'll use yellow. So for this one, I'll put a yellow-red yellow red dot. I'll put a yellow dot there and a yellow dot here, just so I know that connector associates with that plug. And the last one here. So gently pick it up. Okay. Apply pressure on both sides. Wiggle it up. Okay, so now this harness will tuck under this JB4 part here. This is up and away. This is up and away. I think we just have the one Jesus clip. Yep. So you can just push it out, and then you should have to pick it up at the top. This one should have a loop in the middle. Yeah, so I'll show you as soon as I pull this one out. So one side has to come out, other side has to come out. And push it up. Okay, so this ends up sitting inside the pipe. So it ends up sitting inside, and then you kind of push it under a tab. When it's under the tab, you can push it and the whole thing will actually lock in properly. So this one's for the lower one. Let me see if there's a difference. Yeah, so you can see the difference. The flat one connects to the tab, and this one is for the turbo. Okay, so now that everything is loose, I remember there being a stupid way to do this. Let's try and be careful. It's a sensor. There. If I took the sensor out, it wouldn't have got caught, but I like doing things the hard way. Woo! Okay, that is fucking gross. It's amazing how much grit it actually gets in there when it's even sealed. Okay, so this gives you a better idea what the turbo looks like. Not the smallest thing ever, but I could have done without all this grit in it, but whatever. So charge pipe comes out there, so we'll give that a little wipe. I think Taylor already did, but that's okay. Throttle body. Now what's fun on these, because they have Valvetronic, is this is only active when you end up having a check engine light. So it defaults to using the throttle body as opposed to the Valvetronic. So as soon as you start the car, the throttle body clicks open and it doesn't do a whole heck of a lot. Now, what's neat on the B58 is this is actually the tensioner. So it bolts to the front of the alternator. So same way, there's a little channel probably on the back side right here, somewhere there. And then you pull the tensioner and it takes tension off the belt, but the belt's significantly smaller. So we'll take a gander up and around. Other than it being dirty, it's not that bad. Okay, so we got black pipes everywhere. These actually come with clips. So charge pipe comes with a new clip, and so does the inlet. Okay, so first things first, because this one goes like this, I'm gonna put the coupler on this end first. Which one was it? This one. Is it this one? Or is it that one? This looks too big. Nope. That is for the inlet. Oh! What is this? Oh, bolts for the throttle body. Okay, so that doesn't say CTS. I'll just wedge this on here. So if you look inside, there's gonna end up being the lump. So the lump's right here. What I like to do is I like to butt up the hose clamp right next to it. So when you end up cranking it down, it's gonna be less likely for it to start slipping off. So it won't start slipping and pop off. This, it won't actually slip. So
That's where the fourth one went, by the way.
thread sealant. Okay. All right, so the plug, we mix a little bit of the thread sealant. I mean, really, you could use Loctite on this one. So thread sealant works kind of like a glue. So it seals the threads and it also stops the thing from backing out. But obviously, if it's under certain applications, you want to use actual thread locker on it. So the reason I use this is because it'll start to come through the threads and then it ends up drying kind of like a gasket right up top. So that'll end up drying like a glue. So that'll be okay. All right. So let's try and slide all this plastic PCV shit out of the way without breaking it. What's going on here?
You just got to go down straight a bit. There you go.
All right. Let's wedge this on here.
Deploy the Vaseline.
Yep. Vaseline it is. Yep. So then you push the one top in. Yep.
Push the one clip in, put the other out.
All right, so bottom pipe on. All right, so now that we have this out of the way, let's give the connector just a little wipe. And then we're gonna wiggle it down into the inlet here. Trying to wiggle it just into place. Okay, so this is going to go in probably a little bit. And a little bit further. So here we're aligning the upper charge pipe to the throttle body, and surprise, surprise, flashlight kids snapped the head of the bolt clear off.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
To all you gentlemen and ladies, if you're pulling out a tap set along with bolt extractors, you're gonna have a good day. And by good, I mean awful. Okay, where do we leave off? So Taylor was being a funny guy and decided to bust the bolt here.
Yeah, you can say it how it is. I cross-threaded it into an aluminum throttle body, which in turn took 3 hours.
It's not the end of the world. So when you have a steel bolt and the steel bolt is going into something aluminum, you need to be very, very cautious of if it's going in straight. If there's the slightest bit of resistance, it's probably starting to cross thread. So what happened is he ended up tightening it and it just happened to just snap because it's a cheap China bolt. So we're gonna reuse the BMW ones. I'm not sure why they don't use them because they're actually longer and they have a bullet style top on them, so you can't have that issue. And I'm just gonna continue by hose clamps in. Shit. This is more of the annoying stuff. Like for me, everything has to be lined up perfectly. So take your time with it. Yeah, that is, that's a rigid boy. All right, so we have the Valvetronic connector here. Man, look at all those pins.
You should hear 2 clicks on that one, I think.
Oh, it went on even. Alrighty, so one of these we ended up putting a yellow dot on, and most of the time you can actually pay attention to how the wires lay. So this one obviously goes here. Now, if someone in the comments is saying, "Hey, Tony, you're not using the dielectric grease," I'm fucking over it. I think that's okay to do. You just want it finished. Don't cut too many corners, but make sure it's done properly still.
Could also guarantee we'll be back in here anyways, and then it'll end up getting dielectric grease.
Oh yeah, probably. So these all have to like click in, and then you have these little gray push tabs. If you don't hear a click, push it till it has a click. If you're not sure if it clicked, pull it out.
Do it again.
Do it again, yeah. Okay, so these are tight. That's tight. I did not tighten these. Now these hose clamps, I really do like T-bolts because you kind of can tell when they're done and snug. These, it could get tight for any number of reasons. It could be starting to cross thread, it could be starting to strip, or it's just a garbage hose clamp and it's just about to snap. So I'm crossing my fingers that we can find the happy median with these. I'm gonna snug them and keep an eye out for any boost leaks. Okay, those are done. Evap is all connected again. I guess I connect all these after it's in. All right, so this is all lubed up. Hold on. These connectors, does this go up and over the pipe here?
Mm-hmm.
Like this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just need to be a bit cautious. All right. Taylor says I can just shove it on and it'll clip. Oh, it actually did.
Satisfying, right?
That was extremely satisfying. So that's in there. Now let's see if I can equally as easily push in the evap. Nope. Okay, I wasn't completely satisfied with how that felt. So let's take a gander. Hello. Hello. I guess I just need to make sure if both are. Oh yeah, that's in there. Sitting on the turbo pretty nice. PCV. So a little bit of white lithium goes a long way. So let's see if it's gonna be nice with us in sliding in there.
I got a feeling.
Yeah, it's gonna be a pain in the ass. Yeah, it clipped. Okay. So these are very, 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 very brittle. So no sudden movements. Hold your breath a little bit. Didn't break. Look at that. All right, so these three tight. These three tight. Tight, 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 Yeah, the charge pipe pushes right on this coolant hose a little bit. I guess that doesn't really matter. It's not chafing or rubbing anywhere. All right, next, connect in the heater. So the O2 or the PCV, it has a heater element so that it doesn't freeze in the wintertime. Right here, this is the heater element for the PCV. So all it does is it warms the air when it goes back into the inlet. So connect that. And then next, we're going to reconnect the external or the wastegate EWG wires, and then put the shield back on. Once the heat shield blanket thing is put back on, we put back the bottom portion of the factory air box, and we reconnect the BMS air filter and its little billet adapter. Now, for good luck, I like to wipe everything down, including the valve cover, and reconnect the bars, and that's pretty much it. We should be good to go. Afterwards, I wanted to take the car for a bit of a drive to see how it sounds. So, just to make sure that the neighbors aren't going to be all angry at me, what I'm going to do is I brought it all the way down to Guadalajara, Jalisco. So I'll fire it up and I'll give it a couple revs. Well, that's a lot of intake noise. That's all for today. Feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. What the hell? Those are new! Oh, that's bird shit. Yeah.
Oh my god.
What?
So jealous.
Apparently Taylor's jealous of the
Turbo is
B58.
right there.
Yeah, because that's the rubber one.
Sorry.
Yeah. So a little spritz on the finger of white lithium.
I love the smell of that stuff.
Yeah, almost kind of smells like glue.
A little bit. We must have been the kids that sniffed glue in school.
Well, one of us definitely was.
Yep. Good clearance in your little pee-pee.
That sounds so fucking wrong. The beep-bay. Follows me everywhere.